Welcome to the DIY Writer Show with the mild-mannered, slightly heroic host, Jeff Bacon.
Heidi ho, this is Jeff Bacon. How y'all doing today? I've got an author with me. I know you're shocked. I know, really, I got an author. And she's got some pretty interesting stuff that she's read, but let's talk about her for just a little bit. She's written both fiction and nonfiction. She's written magazine and newspaper articles. She's a copywriter and a poet. I'd like to introduce Rhonda Armbrust. Rhonda, how you doing today?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Nailed that last name.
Yeah, congratulations.
I know, it's,
You're a rare breed.
A small feat. So you're doing good today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Yeah. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. I'm a little tired. If anybody's, by the time people watch this, they probably don't realize that we're actually recording on November 4th. So we've had this, I stayed up too late last night watching the news.
Yeah. I had to make myself go to bed.
Actually, my kids made me come to bed because it's like, I want to watch.
Right.
Regardless of what your political view is, I love watching history unfold and
right.
See the
kind of a nail biter.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of, so whatever side you fall upon, it's like everybody's kind of sitting there going, "Oh my gosh!"
I know.
And it's going to be that way for the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, whatever.
I know. That's what. Yeah, we'll see.
People are going to be saying, "All I want for Christmas is an election result." But
right.
Sorry, I'm nursing a cold, so every
no.
now and then I'll have to shut my microphone off so I can hack, just like about now. Much better. All right. So you reside near the shores of Idaho's largest body of water, and you've raised 2 sons, and you wrote your first book, which is Remote Viewer, Shadow Rescuer.
Mm-hmm.
Before we actually start talking about that book, and you've actually got a new release coming out here in February of 2021, and you've got 2 books out. One of the interesting things I found on your blog is, what is a remote viewer? Can you kind of explain what that is and what the premise is behind that?
Okay, well, remote viewing was actually a term that the United States government devised to explain their psychic spies that they use to view clandestine operations. And so remote viewing came actually from the government, but a remote viewer is someone who does remote viewing, which is mentally kind of clairvoyantly. Remote viewers don't like using that term, but it's basically mentally viewing things that are going on in distant locations.
So do you have you interviewed remote viewers, or are you one, or what's your experience?
Well, I've tried it. The story of how I discovered remote viewing is kind of long and involved, but there's a lot of people, there's Facebook groups, there's books, they still teach it. And so there's a lot of people that practice and try to get better at remote viewing all the time. Personally, I don't have a lot of interest in being a great remote viewer or anything. I've had some strange experiences, but yeah, it's not something I spend a lot of time on. I just think it's fascinating, the whole concept.
So the one question I have about that is, so when the remote viewer is seeing something, are they seeing it from a perspective of somebody else, or are they seeing the entire scene like a third party?
My understanding of it is seeing it like a third party. They're just observing it, and
okay.
I think that there's different ways, that people get triggered to see something. Like right now, if you joined a group and you practiced and tried to learn how to do remote viewing, they give codes, and the codes trigger a remote viewing, and so you see something and then you go back and you say, okay, well, I saw that such and such. Is that what this code is referencing? So they can do that. Interestingly enough, in my second book, which is about, my books are all about this protagonist named Jazz, who's an excellent remote viewer. So in the first book, the CIA hires her, but in the second book, she finds missing people. And there's actually remote viewers that do that. There's a wonderful lady named Pam Coronado who works in law enforcement, and she's found a number of people who are missing. I actually referred a gentleman to her. I don't know how. I'm hoping it turned out well. I didn't want to pry, but at any rate, she has a very good track record with law enforcement. So, and then a lot of people think that the government is still exploring remote viewing. And Lynn Buchanan, who was a military remote viewer, claims that he doesn't know any country that isn't exploring remote viewing. Like Russia, China have had programs for years. The United States has been studying this psychic spy, or whatever you want to call it, since World War II. So it has a long history within various governments.
Coming from a personal perspective, it wouldn't be a bad skill to develop, since I have some teenage girls or I have some girls that are going to be becoming teenagers. It wouldn't be a bad thing just to
right.
Just in the middle
There's
of the night,
supposed to be some
hey.
ethical rules around,
I think spying on teenagers is completely ethical.
Right. Yeah. I don't dispute that at all. I never did actually even think of doing that with my sons, which wouldn't have been a bad idea. At times.
That's what this program's all about, is coming up with unique ideas.
Yeah, here we go. Spy on your kids.
Absolutely.
Learn how.
No hold barred remote viewing. Actually, would you want to see that? I'm not entirely sure, because I'm not sure, like when I was growing up, if I would have want my parents to actually, hey, we saw that. Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you didn't.
I have a funny story. My grandmother was actually my English teacher in high school. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And she was very good at keeping school separate from personal life. I mean, she was very good at this. And I didn't really realize how good it was until several years after she'd retired. And she came out to visit. And my mom and dad, my grandma, and my family are all sitting down at a meal. And she starts kind of remembering what I was doing in high school. And she started coming up with these stories. And my mother was aghast. I mean, she was just like, and you never told me, Gene, I can't believe that. And she looked at me and says, I thought you were a nice boy. Oh my gosh. And it's just like, holy cow, Grandma, you really uncorked the bottle here. Thanks.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it was like, well, thanks for not telling them during high school. That would have been even worse.
Yeah, it softens the blow.
Somewhat, even though the time my mom's just kind of shaking her head. My dad was kind of funny because he had known about most of it. And it's just a small town gas station type place, that's where everybody hangs out, and everybody talks to everybody there. And he's like, oh yeah, I knew that. And Mom's like, I'm the only one that didn't know. And it's like, sorry, Mom, but so. We didn't have
sometimes you have to be gentle with mothers.
Sometimes, yeah. But so you've got this new book coming out February 21st that we talked a little bit about doing you're doing a relaunch of your book 1 and book 2, I assume. And then February 21st, the third book comes out.
Right.
So is this going to be a trilogy, or is this going to be something that you keep on developing and into like a series?
Well, right now it's a trilogy. I kind of wrapped up a lot of things, and I feel like I wrapped up everything in book 3. There was a few threads hanging loose. Mm-hmm. I have the idea in my head to maybe do a prequel based on what's going on in book 3, so I might do that. But I actually have started a different book. So,
Oh, okay.
so I'll at least put that on, just leave it at a trilogy for now.
Okay. Cool beans. So one of the things that we were talking about previously, and it's a discussion I'd like to get into a little bit, and then we'll probably skip over to your blog because I found
Okay.
some of those articles kind of interesting that you have on
Oh,
there.
thanks.
The you know, we were talking about Amazon as far as being an author
Right.
and trying to figure out what the algorithms are, and you know, trying to figure out when the best time to release and, you know, do this, and everybody's got all their different theories on, you know, whether it's 14 days, 18 days, 22 days, 30 days, 3 or 4 months, whatever,
Right.
you know. And I think it's all very funny. What's your take on that?
Well, I think Amazon sells, I think, 70% of all books that are sold now,
Yeah.
you know. So I do appreciate that. I was trying to figure out lately how they post reviews, and I don't think it was very long ago, but now all of a sudden a person, in order for their review to be posted, has to have spent at least $50 on Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
which to me is a little cheesy. Um, you know, I
Well,
don't see all my posts popping up. I mean, all my reviews showing.
yeah,
So,
you know, the premise behind that, I read some of their statements on that, is that they had too many people just popping in, giving reviews, and then that's the only thing that they ever did. So they're really trying to get their loyal customers to be the ones that give the reviews, so they're more meaningful. They're
oh,
trying to
okay.
put meaning behind the reviews,
Yeah, and that's a good thing.
you know, and that it's not just for books, it's for, you know, everything.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
so I mean, it just kind of affected us a little bit more because, you know, if it's somebody that's just buying books at you know, a couple bucks a book here or there, it's like, yeah, you might not be able to spend enough. But, you know, chances are
Yeah.
during the pandemic everybody's got their $50 minimum by now.
Right. Yeah, that's probably the truth.
The thing that I thought was interesting was that you have your third book done now, but you're waiting until February to release it because you're doing the relaunch and everything else.
Uh-huh.
And I was talking about rapid releases, and you know how it's like every 18 days you release a book until you're out of inventory, you know, to keep in the Amazon algorithm. And you and I were talking about how the Amazon algorithm's really more of a religion depending on who you're talking to.
Right.
You know, everybody believes something differently, and it's just kind of odd. But do you
Yeah,
have
and then
any
they change.
yeah, as soon as somebody actually figures it out, I'm guessing they monitor all of us, and then
Yeah,
when they get
right.
close to figuring out, they change it again. So it's kind of like a you know, some sort of an impossible puzzle to figure out. But
Yeah.
always keep us on our toes. But what do you do for marketing?
I market a lot online, social media, and bookstores, libraries.
Do you have a lot of libraries that carry your book?
I just have a few. I was, for a while there, I was really focusing on querying agents. So I got really involved in that. And then I got really involved in this relaunch campaign. So I haven't been querying agents. So I wasn't doing a lot of sending it to libraries and bookstores and this and that. During that time, I was so focused on querying agents. I sent out quite a few query letters, but with no
What's
luck.
that like? You know, sending out the query letters to agents. I mean, how many did or have you sent out? I mean, that's kind
So
of a,
far, I've sent out 76. And they
and how,
say, don't even start worrying about it till you hit 100 and this and that.
yeah,
And I know it's kind of a persistence game,
yep.
you know, but then you hear horror stories about having an agent or having a publisher. So it's the same. It's kind of like figuring out the Amazon algorithms. What do you
Yeah.
do? So I guess I'm just trying everything,
Well,
see
I
what
think
sticks.
from everybody that I've talked to that have agents, or have gone the publishing route and then, also do the self-publishing.
Uh-huh.
I think it really depends on the person that you pick, you know. I mean,
That makes sense.
it really, because there's lots of slime balls out there, and then, you try and find that one good one. You just kind of look for whoever's over promising. They're probably not the guy for you, or the,
Yeah.
you know, agent for you. But you know, it is what it is. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I say, I just throw things at the wall, see what sticks.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Try everything. Getting to back, or looking at your blog. The one thing that stuck out to me is there really are no taboo uh, subjects. You kind of touch on everything on your blog. You just kind of threw out there what you're feeling like, or what you got going on. I think it's kind of interesting, especially based on the premise of your book being government funded viewers, and remote viewers and how they work. But you talk about Jeffrey Epstein, you talk about ethnic bioweapons. Then of course you have the definition of remote viewing, China's one child prophecy, and the Illuminati. So, and I like the fact that you asked for comments on, how do you feel about this or whatever, but it looks like you do an awful lot of research on this type of stuff.
Well, that I do. I do a lot of research and then I write my book. So, I did a ton of research. So,
Okay. So how much research have you done into the Illuminati?
I don't know, a fair amount. I don't get hung up on that. I mean, I researched it mostly because I was putting it into my book. What spurred that whole thing was this journalist named Benjamin Fulford. He made a claim that this group of supposedly there's secret societies in China, and part of that group are trained assassins, and they approached him wanting help to deal with what they said was George Bush's I don't know, experiments or whatever he was doing with ethnic specific biological weapons. So I thought that was fascinating. And the whole concept of Chinese assassins, I found fascinating. And so I melded the remote viewing. I kind of melded all my little things that I thought were intriguing into this first book.
So,
but my personal opinion about Illuminati is I don't feel like there's probably a real organized group. I mean, I think there's a lot of powerful people that try to persuade and do this and that and the other. I don't know how organized they are, though. Who knows? I don't know.
here's my take on it. If there was an organized global consortium or cabal that was controlling everything, wouldn't they do a much better job?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
Just,
I don't feel like they could be so organized,
I look at everything that happens, and all of the messes that occur.
Yeah.
And it's like, really, this is some global organization has ultimate control over all of us. Okay. And their master plan was what? To create a kludge? No.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I love conspiracy theories, and I love the conversations that they draw out. Because to me, it's really an imaginative type. I mean, anything that you can think of, there's a conspiracy theory on.
Right.
And I think it lends itself to fiction.
Yeah.
When you try to, the world councils of, rich guys that are, looking to kill you, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't spend a lot of time dwelling on it. I don't know. I just liked putting it in my story. I just had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I kind of imagine it more like a scene on a, you know, Austin Powers or something like that, where somebody's actually trying to do something, and
Right, right.
it's just a you know, some sort of a
It
comedy.
it gets a little out there.
It it really does, you know, especially when you're talking about the Illuminati and the you know, the skull and bones, and or
Yeah.
you know, whatever it is, and how oh my God, these people are all, you know, or my favorite one is that all of the presidents are related to each other.
Oh
Have
wow, I
you ever
haven't
heard
even
that one?
heard that one.
Oh, it's great because they somebody built a family tree evidently, and
Oh,
every president since George Washington is some sort of a cousin or something. You know, even Obama was, you know, a
oh wow.
cousin, you know, some distant relative
Hmm.
of George Washington, and it's like, wow, okay.
Wow. Yeah, kind of my
Yeah,
sentiment.
yeah, and it just goes into this big, you know, it's all, you know, the world's been controlled by one family for so long. And it's like
Not
they're
doing a great job.
they're doing a bang up job, aren't they? They're doing a bang up job. So,
Yeah, it's funny.
yeah, you know, the thing with Jeffrey Epstein is interesting. I see you wrote on that a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because I've been following Jeffrey Epstein for years. I was pretty appalled at how he got off of, he had something like 46 women testifying against him, and he gets this slap on the wrist, and he's 9 months in jail where he's released on so-called work duty, where his limousine driver picks him up and he's
Yeah.
gone all day and the whole thing. And then after I published book 2, which is where in book 2, Jazz, a friend of hers daughter is missing, and she finds her being trafficked, and so that leads her into joining this team of special operatives, and her role is to find the victims and then they go rescue them. And I based one of the characters that was a leader of the big ring they were trying to break up on Jeffrey Epstein. And and as a side note, there really are teams like what I described. There's a group called Phantom Rescue, and
Mhm.
that's where I got the name of the second book, which is Remote Viewer Phantom Shadow. And
Right.
they are those kinds of military trained guys who actually go rescue traffic victims.
Yep. I know of a
But
couple groups too that do
oh,
that same
okay.
thing.
Yeah, it's
Um,
great.
yeah, child trafficking's it's a horrible thing,
Oh, it's
and
terrible. It's just
and
atrocity.
you know
It's unbelievable.
the stories that they come out with as far as, you know, the conditions that they're held in, you know, I mean, and the
Oh,
things
yeah.
that they've had done to them, and it's just, you know, these dirt bags. You know, I love
Oh,
seeing
it's,
any kind of article where they get shut down. You know, I mean,
yeah, me too. I
just
usually post them on my Facebook page because
yeah,
it's just like, yay, yay.
yeah. I see it pop up on my feed every now and then, but it's just like, you know, one of the most horrible things you could do is take a child and put them through that. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
uh,
it's just hard to even imagine
you
anybody
know,
doing that.
well,
And
just a human being in general, but I mean,
oh,
especially
it's
children.
horrible.
It's like
Oh, yeah.
you know, they have a chance, and so you're gonna do this, and you know, but
And a big reason I wrote the book was I was hoping that young people would read it, because I go through different stories of different people and how they got sucked into the trafficking trade. And they're all based on, most of them are based on what actually happened to some people. So there's just different ways that they get lured in. And so I just hope that, you know, young people will read it and be more aware of all the ways they could be sucked into that without even knowing.
oh, I took a class, and it was required to be able to be a volunteer on on what to look out for as far as child
Oh,
trafficking and pedophiles.
oh,
You know, how they swoop in and they try and take the children, how they coax them with, you know, puppies and candy and, you know, cool stories and picture books and, you know, blah 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 blah. And
yeah.
then we got to watch recordings of these people that have been caught, put in jail, and they tell you how they do it. And it was it was something I will never forget, and it's something that was, you know, I've got a I'm not overly sensitive, but this was one of those things that just really it got to me. It really did. You know, I'd leave these training sessions just angry that, you know, these people are even breathing yet, just from the things that they would do to
Mm.
the kids. And it's just like, you know,
Well, good for you, because I don't know. I don't see anything worse that's going on. And it's a huge industry,
it's a worldwide industry. It
and it's
really is.
worldwide.
Yeah. And so when you take your book and you try and attack things like this, do you ever get people that kind of come back with negative feedback because of the topics that you
I really never have. And actually, I have a strange story that, if you have a minute, another minute.
you know,
But
I've got all the time in the world. So
okay.
this is all
Well,
about
I
getting to
did.
know you.
This was the only so-called attack, and I just thought it was the strangest thing in the world, because in book one, Jazz's memory is wiped before she can find the assassins and name the targets they think are planning on releasing a bioweapon in China. So
Mhm.
before she can do that, she's abducted, and her memory of the last few weeks is wiped. So she doesn't remember her mission or anything. And she meets a psychologist named Aiden who explains what's going on. Yeah, you lost your memory. So she doesn't know who her enemy is. So she flees to and hides in a monastery in China, in Chengdu, China. So what I was getting to was, as far as being targeted, 2 weeks after I published that book, my email was hacked, and Google sent me a notice that someone had my password, and then they send you like a link to the IP address, and it was a monastery in Chengdu, China.
Really.
Really, that's a true story. I was really surprised, and I think I
Act,
wrote down the name of the monastery somewhere, but I don't know where I wrote it down.
act by Chinese monks.
Yeah. Then I
That's
started thinking, well, I wonder if they're really fighting human rights issues in China, or who knows, my mind starts spiraling. I don't know. I really don't know. That was the only attack I've ever had.
my first book. That in my Dark Side series, I attack that same type of thing, except for I put the Catholic Church in the middle of it, and it's a
Oh.
child trafficking thing. And mine's dark fantasy, so I get to do whatever I want to the perpetrators. You know,
Well,
there were no courts involved
oh,
in my books. They're just all kind of
oh.
yeah.
So what's the name of that book?
The Dark Side of Good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting. I'll have to read that.
Well, if you want to, it's a little dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, but this isn't about me. This is about you. So, which I have to tell myself every now and then. But it's one of those things where I took conspiracy theories and I threw them into a big pot and said, okay, this is the story I want to write. But I find that very interesting. I think you and I kind of do hit the same type of thing. I do.
Yeah.
I'm still just looking at this Illuminati blog that you have, where you talk about the Bilderberg Group and the Council on Foreign Relations, and how all these things just kind of mix in, and how worldwide, it's very easy to see that there's these networks and institutions that seem to work together in trafficking humans.
Yeah.
Which is really, even down in Haiti, when they, some of the things that happened down there, you know, the dirt balls that swooped in to make a profit off of human lives, again, just atrocious.
Yeah. And it's not just sex trafficking, it's labor trafficking. There's
Oh
different
yeah,
kinds of trafficking that are all bad.
they are all bad. So, with that, let's talk a little bit about your new book coming out on the 21st. What can readers expect out of that one?
Okay, so in book 3, it's called Remote Viewer Galaxy Shadow. So now it's set in it begins in the year 2030. And Jazz's daughter, she's now married to Aiden, who she met in book 1. He was a psychologist. Their daughter is Jenny. She's now 16. She's inherited Jazz's remote viewing skills. And Jenny meets this, and she's totally enamored by this boy who is very mysterious, aloof, and as she finds out, has a really strange heritage. So she uses all her remote viewing and other psychic abilities to help him evade what I call the hunters, who are trying to stop him and his family from releasing the clean 0-point energy technology they have.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what that book is about, and their adventures.
That's cool. And again, that'll be available in February of 21, February 21st. I'm sorry, 2021.
Well, it'll be sometime in February.
So, just kind of getting out of the book world real quick and getting into your what you do and where you live and everything. So you live in Idaho. Idaho's beautiful.
Yes, it is beautiful. Yeah.
Can you what's your favorite? Where's your favorite place to hang out? I mean, just go on a walk and just sit and think.
My favorite place, I think, is Green Bay.
Okay.
And it's
Not
it's
Wisconsin.
Oh no! Actually,
I
didn't think about that. But it's just this beautiful beach area that's surrounded by ridges, and it's off the beaten track. And most people, I mean, the locals know about it, but most people don't know about it. But it's gorgeous.
What makes it so gorgeous?
Well, if you look across the lake, you see the green monarchs, and they're just like straight up and down, gorgeous mountains. Part of my book 1 is set in Sandpoint area, and they actually visit the green monarchs. So if you want to know more about what that's like, you could read the book.
Okay.
But the water's crystal clear. Lake Pend Oreille is Idaho's largest lakes. It's one of the biggest lakes in the western United States, and it's not crowded, knock on wood, and it's surrounded by mountains. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Wow. That's one of the things that, when you think about beautiful landscape and mountains, you usually think of, Montana and Colorado, and Idaho's right there. I think a lot of people kind of miss that Idaho's got a ton of just gorgeous places to go that aren't as, shall I say, touristy as some of the other states.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful state. I'm actually from Colorado, and I kind of watched it get so crowded, and so I left. But like central Idaho, it's just amazing. I don't know, it is a very beautiful state, and it's not crowded.
Not yet, but when people find out about it.
Oh yeah.
They'll come.
Yes, they will.
They will. So, the other thing, what nonfiction books have you written? I mean, what topics do you attack there?
Well, I haven't written any nonfiction books. I've written nonfiction articles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got that mixed up.
Just fiction books. I did contribute nonfiction articles to a book somebody else put together.
Okay.
But yeah.
So your articles, where can they be seen?
Well, they would probably be hard to find because they're mostly just newspaper articles and older. Like I wrote when I lived in Colorado, I wrote
Okay.
about this place called the Vapor Caves in Glenwood Springs, and that was a while ago. And I wrote a lot of stuff in while I was involved in starting a homeless shelter. And so I'd write about that, or when I was dealing with affordable housing. I've kind of been in the housing world for a
Mhm.
while, and
What are the
writing a,
vapor caves that you wrote about? Or
oh, the Vapor Caves are just the most amazing places. When I lived there, I was actually a masseuse. It's a underground cave that mineral waters run through. It's
okay.
in Glenwood Springs, right across from the world's largest hot springs pool. And they built a spa over it. And so you go down these stairs and you sit in these caves on marble slabs because marble's prevalent in the area.
Mhm.
And it's just like a wonderful steam room.
Oh, really?
It's just an amazing place. I love it.
And that's where again?
Glenwood Springs, Colorado.
Hmm. Might be on my bucket list once I get unquarantined.
Oh, you should. Yeah, you should definitely go there and get a massage while you're there.
Absolutely.
Those are my massage days.
Yeah. So you've written about that. You write about conspiracy theories. You've got 2 books published, one more coming out, and you said you're working on a fourth book, but it's a different series. I mean, what can we expect from you in the future? You're going to keep on writing, and
Yeah, I love to write. The fourth book I'm writing. I've always been really interested in the workings of the mind and how to use the mind, and and so I did have a hypnosis practice. I got certified in hypnosis and did that. That's kind of a side thing, but I became a psychiatric rehabilitation specialist working with chronically mentally ill clients. So my next book is a fictionalized, kind of inspired by actual events story about a couple of my clients.
okay. So how far are you along on that one?
Mentally, I'm very proud of it, but I think I've got the first like 4 chapters done,
Okay.
and it basically the crux of the story is that it's a mentally ill mother's struggle to retain custody of her daughter
Oh,
is basically
okay.
what it's about.
That's a tough circumstance.
And it's written by, I mean, the point of view is from the therapist who really has a lot of issues of her own. That's a lot fictionalized. The whole thing is fictionalized, but it's inspired by actual events.
Let's go back to hypnosis. So you have you're a hypnotist, huh?
Hmm.
Cool. Ever make anybody cluck like a chicken?
I don't do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't do that, but I've helped people quit smoking,
Okay.
lose weight, manage their depression. I mean, I'm a firm believer. I use self-hypnosis on myself to regain a memory of a trauma that I had repressed. And I
Okay.
tried everything to remember it. I felt like I had to remember it so I could process it. And the only thing that worked was self-hypnosis. So I was able to remember enough of the trauma while I put myself under self-hypnosis that I could process it and try to heal from the trauma. And that, even though I already knew I've known most of my life how to do hypnosis, I studied it, I got certified, and I opened up a hypnosis practice.
Okay.
And then I'm just was constantly seeing amazing things happen. I felt like, if you could hypnotize somebody that's been trying to quit smoking for 30 years and they quit smoking after one session, it's a powerful tool. So I really believe in it.
So are you willing, or can you tell? I mean, how do you put yourself into self hypnosis? I mean,
Well,
that's kind of
you know,
interesting.
actually, if your viewers want, I have a self hypnosis, a free self hypnosis guide that I could, because it's I it would be hard for me to explain in a few words, but if they wanted to go to facebook.com/remote viewer book and give me
Okay.
their email address, I can send them the free guide, and I'd be happy to send it to you too.
Okay.
But you kind of like just talk yourself through the relaxation, what's called the induction, and then the deepener. You just talk yourself through that, and then you tell yourself things. And in the guide, I teach people how to do that. And the subconscious mind works and responds well to images and positive statements.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to speak to it in a language it understands.
Okay.
So I mean, it's like a 7-page guide, but I really believe that a person could learn to do self hypnosis with the guide, you know, and it's free. If anybody wants it.
Okay. You should put that up on like a book funnel or something like that.
Put that up on what?
Like a book funnel or something like that. So you can you know, delve it out for free, kind of like a magnet or something, and then throw it up on your website. So they give you an
Oh,
email address,
yeah,
and they get the
sure.
guide.
Yeah, I do. I wish everybody knew how to do it because I just think it's so powerful. It's
Sounds
different. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, it's different than meditation is it's kind of similar to meditation, except for meditation calms the mind. You know, you want to quiet your thoughts and this and that and the other. But self-hypnosis, you work on specific problems that
Okay.
you have, you know. You typically, you know, once you'll just work on one thing. You're not going to self-hypnotize yourself and say, "Hey, I'm great now." You know. You work on a specific thing. So that's how it differs from meditation, but you know, and meditation's been is wonderful. I've been doing that for many years too. But
Yeah, that I enjoy that, just the quiet and just kind of,
yeah,
you know, calming everything down and
yeah,
really trying to think of nothing, which never really works, but sometimes I get close, you know. But
yeah. And it doesn't work for anybody really. But you know, I personally don't believe people should even try to do that. You just kind of go with the flow is my personal thing. But anyway, that's me.
no, and I agree with that. I noticed that you know, like I'll be able to recognize a feeling or recognize, okay, this is how I'm feeling right this second, and then kind of dive into it and figure out why, you know, or at least, you know,
Yeah,
at least identify, okay, why am I all of a sudden angry, you know, and then okay, dive into it. And you know, I think it's a good way to explore your feelings.
yeah,
So
really.
I was going to say self hypnosis sounded kind of like that, but you went ahead and described that for me. So that's gonna be interesting. Yeah, and if you wouldn't mind, send me that guide. I'd
Okay, I will for sure.
like to get into that a little bit.
Okay. Oh,
Just
it's
try
nice
it
you're
out.
interested. You're open-minded, you know.
Well, you know, I'd love to fix myself because no one else has been able to. No, just kidding.
We're all in the same boat.
Yeah, well, you know, although if I fix myself, can I write? That's a good question. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Sometimes it's well, yeah, I think when I wrote my best poems when I was, you know, healing from my traumas and, you know.
I think pain has something to do with the writing experience. I mean, you
Mhm.
know, it brings either a certain edginess or a certain, you know, I mean, those life experiences, if they're all gone, I'm not sure what you end up being. But you know, I do notice that, you know, if I'm angry and writing a certain scene, it comes out much better than if I'm just happy go lucky and okay, you know, especially
Yeah.
in dark fantasy, or you know, I mean,
Yeah.
emotions make a play in that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And having, you know, I don't know, I've had a lot of varied life experiences and I think it helps in my writing, you know. So I put all these things in my all these weird experiences I've had in my stories.
well, that's cool. Remote viewing is you know, I mean, I know there's been a few movies out on that type of stuff, and you know, the government's, you know, experiments with it and so on and so forth. But you know, it's, again, it's one of those subjects where, is it real? It could be. You really don't know, unless you've experienced something like that.
That's the thing. When you experience something, it makes it more true. But if I would highly recommend this documentary called Third Eye Spies, if anybody wants to learn more about remote viewing, because it's really well done. And I feel like there's a lot of misinformation and propaganda about it. But I really enjoyed that documentary. I think it's really well done.
Okay, cool. I will actually put that in the notes from in the program description, just so if somebody doesn't catch it on the program, they can
Okay, yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to tell your readers?
Well, let me see. If they go to facebook.com/remote-viewer-book, they could find out when I launch my book, because I'm going to be offering the ebook at 99 cents. So if they're interested, they could get a huge discount on it. Okay. And then right after that, I'm going to be reducing the cost on book 2 for a short time. But if they want to go there, and plus if they want the self-hypnosis guide, they can go to facebook.com/remote-viewer-book and just leave me their email address, and I'll send them the self-hypnosis guide too. Okay. So
I actually in the description of the podcast, I will put all your links in there. I've got your remote-viewer-book.com. I've got you on LinkedIn. I've got you on Amazon. I've got you on Facebook, and also Readsy.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll link you up, and I will make sure that I put a little blurb in there about sending you the email address, and you'll get a guide on self-hypnosis.
Wonderful. Cool. I appreciate it so much.
Well, Rhonda, I want to tell you, it's been a pleasure getting to know you on today after this bloody election. And yeah, if anybody could have remote viewed that, it would have been interesting. But anyway, it's been a pleasure talking to you. This is Jeff Bacon with the DIY Writer Podcast, and I want to thank you all for listening. And if you have a chance, please subscribe to either the YouTube channel or any one of your podcast feeds that you happen to be listening to this on. I want you all to have a great day and keep your chin up.
YouTube, the final frontier. We rely on subscriptions to stay alive here. They help us to feed our children, and buy beer. Please subscribe.